Texas baseball season came to an abrupt end in the Austin Regional last night. Should year one of the Jim Schlossnagle era still be considered a success? We debate on today's episode of Locked On Longhorns. Intro.
You are Locked On Longhorns, your daily podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. You're locked on to the Texas Longhorns. I'm your host, BK Brad Kellner, Texas grad, Austin native, and longtime sports radio host here in the Lone Star State. Thank you for making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day every single day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as well. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and tell your Longhorn friends about Locked On, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Another son of an NFL great was on Texas's campus yesterday, and Texas softball is one win away from a trip to the Women's College World Series final. We'll get to those stories in a bit, but first, a way too early autopsy on the 2025 Texas baseball team as the Longhorn season came to an end in the Austin Regional Final last night. The Horns falling to UTSA for the second time in as many days. 7-4, the final from last night. That came about 24 hours after the Longhorns lost 9-7 to the Roadrunners on Saturday. And boom, just like that, the Longhorn season is over. We'll go back to Friday and work our way through the weekend, and then we'll put a bow on what was a great season for Texas baseball that ended in a major disappointment. And it felt like a great TV show with the horrible ending. Think Ozark, think Dexter, think How I Met Your Mother, think Game of Thrones, pick your poison. That's what the 2025 Texas baseball season felt like. The Austin Regional started off strong. Texas with an easy 7-1 victory over Houston Christian. They advanced to the 1-0 game on Saturday night, but that's where things obviously started to fall off the rails for the Longhorns. Texas jumped out to a 6-1 lead over UTSA. I mean, the Horns were cruising. Luke Harrison was dealing on the mound. The bats were rolling. It looked like Texas was on their way to another relatively comfortable victory to improve to 2-0. And things quickly fell apart. Texas was its own worst enemy in that game on Saturday. You had errors, you had walks, you had hit batters, you had a passed ball from Rylan Galvan, and you had a bunch of unclutch performances at the plate. Look, you tip your cap to UTSA. They're having a tremendous season, their best year in college baseball history. But Texas, man, a lot of mistakes as they allowed UTSA to get back into that game. The Roadrunners scored 4 in the fifth, 3 more in the sixth inning to take the lead. And the Longhorns went 3 for 18 with runners in scoring position. Texas had its chances. Again, defensive issues. There were base running blunders. They gave UTSA too many free passes. And look, again, the Roadrunners having a great year. They were 46-13 in the regular season. They won their conference by 5 games. Like, they earned a 2 seed in this tournament. They're too good to be making those types of mistakes against. And Texas did that a lot. And I mentioned just the lack of clutch hitting for the Longhorns. They had plenty of opportunities to pile onto their lead early in the game and then come back from behind later in the game. Texas left 14 men on base in Saturday night's loss. And again, they go 3 for 18 with runners in scoring position. Brutal. So Texas drops that game, and that meant they had to win 3 in a row to advance to the Super Regionals. It started off strong yesterday afternoon, a 15-8 blowout victory over Kansas State in an elimination game. That sent the Longhorns on to a regional final. But, even though there were 2 wins for Texas this weekend, you got to focus on the 2 losses because that's why this season is over. The Longhorns had to beat UTSA twice before UTSA beat Texas once. Unfortunately, we don't have a Game 7 to talk about today because Texas came up short again last night. 7-4, the final score from Austin. This game got ugly early. Texas went down 7-0 after just the third inning. There was a hope. Okay, Texas blew a big lead against UTSA on Saturday. Maybe turnabout is fair play, and the Longhorns can come from behind and find a victory over the Roadrunners. But it wasn't meant to be. Texas crawled back into the game a little bit. They cut it to 7-2. Max Ballou hits a 2-run homer in the bottom of the ninth to make it 7-4, but that was all she wrote for Texas. And more of the same. And Texas hit 5 batters in last night's game. They hit 3 in the third inning alone. That's where UTSA busted the game open. The Roadrunners scored 2 in the bottom of the first, and then they scored 5 in the third to kind of take control. Again, the Texas pitchers giving up way too many free passes, and the Longhorns struggled with runners in scoring position. It was 3 of 18 in Saturday's loss. It was 1 of 11 in last night's loss to UTSA, and that's it. Texas baseball, despite all of the success, despite winning the SEC championship, despite being the number 1 team in America for about a month, despite earning the number 2 national seed in this NCAA baseball tournament, the Longhorns postseason is done. It was a very short stay in the NCAA tournament for Texas. And the Longhorns end the season 0-3 against UTSA. Like that is brutal. To put things into perspective, and if this feels like I'm pouring salt into the wound, it's because I am. If it feels like I'm twisting the knife a little bit, it's because I am. Just some numbers to show you the difference between Texas and UTSA baseball. Obviously, the Longhorns have been to Omaha more than any other program in college baseball. They've been to the NCAA tournament more than any other team in college baseball. UTSA had won a regional game going into the weekend. And of course, this is their first ever trip to the Super Regional. So you talk about history, you talk about tradition. It's not even close between these two ball clubs. Obviously, UTSA, University of Texas, San Antonio, that's a part of the UT system. So not only is that an in-state school beating you, but that's a lower school, quote unquote, from your own academic system that took you down. But here's some numbers, right? Texas paid David Pierce $1.8 million to not coach the Longhorns this year. UTSA's head coach, Pat Hallmark, is making $272,000. Texas baseball spent more than $11 million last season. I should say last year in the 2024 fiscal year. UTSA spent $1.73 million last year. So this is not supposed to happen. UTSA, I mean, one time it's fine, but UTSA going 3-0 in any sport against the University of Texas in any year, that's disappointing. Again, credit them. You tip your cap to them, and that's the beauty and the struggle of baseball. That's why I love it so much. It's like any team can beat anybody on any given night. Texas wasn't the only team that lost. The number 1 national seed, Vanderbilt, who may have been the hottest team in the nation going into this tournament, they lost to the 4 seed, Wright State, in their regional final. So it's why we love and hate baseball. When you're the underdog, it's fun. When you're the favorite team that loses to a team you feel like you have no business losing to, it's not so fun. But that's the sport. Unfortunately, Texas fell victim to that this weekend. So looking at this 2025 season as a whole, again, a lot to be proud of. You win the SEC in year 1. It's the toughest conference in college baseball. Texas fans had heard for years that they weren't ready to make the leap into this league, and the Longhorns won this conference by 2 games. And it's not like the SEC was having a down year, right? A lot of SEC teams still alive in the NCAA tournament. A lot of SEC teams were hosting this weekend, and a lot will be hosting next weekend. So to win this conference in year 1, tremendously impressive. Again, to make it all the way up to the number 1 ranking, tremendously impressive. To get the 2 seed, like if you told any Texas fan at the start of the season that all of those things were going to happen, they would have been thrilled, and I would have been thrilled. But with success comes expectations, right? You win the SEC, you get the host, you're expected to win your regional. You're sure as hell expected to beat UTSA. And when you can't do that, again, it's going to leave a sour taste in the mouths of Texas baseball fans everywhere. And look, you could just chalk this up to this is baseball. It's how the sport works sometimes. But you also feel like this Texas baseball team peaked a little too early. I mean, they were incredible in February and in March and in April. They were 38-5 when the calendar turned to May. And then the month of May was a bit of a struggle for the Horns. They went just 5-8 in the month. And of course, the season ended on June 1st. So things didn't get better here at the start of June. The injury to Jared Spencer obviously didn't help. The Texas pitching staff was able to, stay really good right after Spencer got hurt, but over time, the pitching depth struggled for Texas. Obviously, in regional play, when you're playing all of these games in such a short amount of time, you need to have some pitching depth, and Texas just didn't quite have enough. And, Yeah, that's why the Saturday game, obviously Texas lost last night. That was the dagger. That was the game that did them in and ended the season. But Texas really needed to start 2-0 so they could get some extra time off so they wouldn't have to play 5 games in 3 days because they just don't have the pitching depth right now to do that. And, the offense cooled off too. Once Jared Spencer got hurt, you figured the pitching was going to come back down to earth a little bit. That meant the bats needed to pick up some of the slack, and they just didn't. They weren't consistent enough at the plate this year. And that was supposed to be the strength of this team. Pitching was the big question going in because you had a bunch of transfers and unproven guys and freshmen taking big roles this year. The pitching was elite for most of the year. The offense just never consistently put it together. Bad year for Jalen Flores, bad year for Will Gasparino. Obviously, a few other guys underperformed this weekend. But just the offense, when it needed to get it done, couldn't get it done. Texas had their chances in both losses against UTSA, but those timely hits were not there. So I'll still call this a successful season. Before the year started, I thought Texas had a super regional ceiling. I thought they'd make the tournament. It's Texas. And I thought, all right, maybe they'll make it to a super, and that's probably as far as they could go. So again, if you asked me at the start of the year, I would have taken that. But with those successes, with those victories, with winning the SEC comes more expectations. And yeah, I thought Texas had a pretty favorable path to Omaha this year, getting to host their way through. Fortunately, they could not get it done. So obviously a big offseason ahead. Year one of the Schloss era, I think it's still a success. Texas will be fine. I think they might be even better next year, which is scary for everybody else. They've got the number 1 recruiting class in the country, but we'll see what happens with the MLB draft. Texas is going to lose some important pieces as well. Kimball Schuessler's gone. I think Max Blue is probably leaving, and there will be a few other names who hear their names called in the MLB draft in July. So it's an interesting offseason ahead, but there's no doubt the future's bright for Longhorn baseball. This one stings. It will sting for a while because you felt like you had a chance to do something pretty special this year because of what you did in the regular season. We're doing this segment a lot earlier than I wanted to here on Locked On Longhorns. I didn't want to do it at all. I wanted to be celebrating a College World Series championship, bringing title number 7 back to Austin. Fortunately, it doesn't happen, but the future for Longhorn baseball is very, very bright. All right, want to hear from you. If you're watching on YouTube, comment below with your thoughts. Success or failure, year one of the Schloss era in Austin. Let's shift gears here. Texas football had a number of high-profile recruits on campus yesterday. One of them is the son of an NFL great. We'll tell you who it was, and we'll talk about the Longhorns' chances of landing another big-name quarterback coming up next right here on Locked On Longhorns. But first, a word from our friends at Monarch Money. You ever check your bank account and wonder, where'd all my money go? Between dining out and online shopping and entertainment, it's summertime. There's a lot going on in the state of Texas. It's easy to lose track of all of your spending. That's where our friends at Monarch Money come in. It's not just a budgeting app. This is your personal CFO giving you full control and visibility over all of your finances. You don't need 10, 15 different budgeting apps anymore. Everything you need is in one place with Monarch Money. All of your credit cards, all of your investments, all of your spending, you can track it all there. So you don't just need to manage your money. You can start actually building wealth. It is so convenient and super easy to use. Right now, our friends at Monarch Money are hooking you up. If you use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege over there at monarchmoney.com, you're going to get 50% off your first year. So you can take control of your finances. Again, 50% off your first year. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege. You'll get 50% off of year one at monarchmoney.com. Welcome back to Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. It's our first show of the month of June here on Locked On Longhorns. And any Texas football fan knows that June has been a hugely successful month for recruiting in the Steve Sarkisian era. So we'll be talking plenty of recruiting over these next few weeks. The Longhorns have more than 50 official visitors coming in this month alone. So we'll be all over it here. I'll be giving you everything you need to know. We'll have some conversations with some recruiting experts as well right here on Locked On Longhorns. Those are the official visits coming up over these next few weekends. Texas also hosted an event yesterday on campus, an elite camp, which featured a ton of Longhorn targets, more so for the classes of 2027 and 2028. Obviously, we're in that 26 cycle right now. There were a couple of 26ers here, but most of the guys who were on campus this weekend were in the classes of 2027 and 2028, meaning they have 2 or 3 years left of high school football. But some big name players at some big name positions, and maybe the biggest name at the most important position, Gunnar Rivers, the son of longtime NFL starting quarterback Philip Rivers. Feel old yet? I do. By the way, Philip Rivers has 10 kids. I think everybody knows that because it felt like every year we were hearing about Philip Rivers and his wife birthing another child. They're up to 10 kids. Gunnar is the oldest of his 3 sons, 3 guys, 7 girls. The 3 oldest kids are all girls. Gunnar's the 4th in the pecking order. He's the oldest son. I don't know how much y'all care about that, but hey, good genes. Philip Rivers, an 8-time Pro Bowler in the NFL, borderline Hall of Famer, probably not going to get in. But yeah, this is not Arch Manning level, and this is not, next of kin in the first family of football. But Philip Rivers was a great quarterback for a number of years in the league, and I love genes, man. I love genes. And I'm excited to see what Gunnar Rivers is going to do over these next couple of years of his high school career. He's a 4-star from the state of Alabama. This was his first visit to Austin, and he gave some quotes about his trip to our friends at Horns 24/7. He said, quote, "It went well. I really enjoyed it. Good talking with all the coaches. Had a good time," end quote. Gunnar Rivers, these kinds of kids are hard to find in the era of social media that we live in, where everybody wants to post everything and they want people to comment and like and retweet and heart and all of that all of the time. Rivers keeps a very low profile when it comes to recruiting. He doesn't tweet his offers. He doesn't post his highlights very much. He doesn't hype this process in general. So he's kind of a low key guy, and I respect that. So a couple of other quotes from Rivers. He was asked what about the Longhorns intrigued him and his family. He said, quote, "Mainly the coaches. Coach Sark's done a really good job here. Coach A.J. Milwee, I enjoyed my time with him too. I talked to Coach Sark after the camp. He told me I did pretty well. I enjoyed it," end quote. Obviously, Sark, quarterback guru. We've known that for years. A.J. Milwee has done a tremendous job as this team's quarterback's coach. I think he's a future college head coach if he wants to be, but he's been great for Texas. And Arch Manning, speaking of Arch, has spoken very highly about A.J. Milwee and his relationship with him. So it's not just Sark. The quarterback coach also matters because the position coach spends more time with you than anybody else. And yeah, it sounds like A.J. Milwee made a good impression on Gunnar Rivers yesterday. Still no offer yet. At least Gunnar Rivers didn't report any sort of offer yesterday. But Gunnar Rivers did said they're interested. I'll say that, and you understand why. Gunnar Rivers is the 7th-ranked quarterback in the nation, according to the composite rankings for that class of 2027. 24/7 Sports actually has him ranked number 2 in the class. Again, 2 years of high school eligibility remaining, so a very highly touted young man already. And his dad's actually his high school coach. Philip Rivers is the high school coach at that school in Alabama that Gunnar attends. So he's getting coached up incredibly well. Other schools that are interested in Gunnar Rivers, obviously there are plenty. Auburn has offered, Miami has offered, South Carolina has offered. Rivers said he's going to be taking some visits to Alabama, Auburn, and maybe NC State this summer. NC State is a little bit of a surprise. Well, that's where Philip Rivers played his college football. So obviously keep it in the family. Again, Phil's the high school coach. He's the dad. He's the former quarterback. He's going to be very involved in this recruiting process of Gunnar Rivers. That makes sense. So we'll see if NC State is able to make some noise here. But Gunnar Rivers talked about development being something that's very important and going to a place that has the right coaches, going to a place that he feels comfortable at. So again, Texas has been great at recruiting quarterbacks. They've been great at developing quarterbacks. Steve Sarkisian has a long track record that obviously predates his time in Austin at working with and developing quarterbacks. So we'll see if that offer comes. I think there's a good chance it will come at some point in the not too distant future. And we'll see if the Longhorns are able to land. Again, the 4-star Gunnar Rivers, 6'3", 205 pounds from the state of Alabama. It is a loaded 2027 quarterback class. We'll be talking about a few of these other names in the coming weeks. Malachi Ziegler, an important name to remember. Peyton Houston, an important name to remember. You've got Garrett Nussmeier's younger brother, Colton, in the state of Texas. He's also a part of that 27 class. There's a lot of Texas and Louisiana flair at the top. Again, it's a loaded QB class nationally, but a lot of the top targets, or at least the top recruits, are around the state of Texas. So we'll see what the Longhorns do there. But again, Gunnar Rivers was here yesterday. That's pretty exciting for Texas fans and pretty exciting for football fans who watched his dad play for all those years with the Chargers. All right, one segment left on today's show. We're recording this before Texas softball takes on Tennessee today, but we got to give some love to Texas softball for what they did over the weekend. We know they're playing right now, but we'll talk about their huge win over Oklahoma and their 2-0 start in the Women's College World Series. And we'll also talk about Scottie Scheffler continuing to dominate the PGA Tour coming up next right here on Locked On Longhorns. All right, welcome back to Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. Texas softball is 2-0 in the Women's College World Series. Again, they're playing right now as this video is being released, so this might not be the most up-to-date info, but Texas softball off to a great start in Oklahoma City. That we do know, and we do know they slayed the dragon that is Oklahoma over the weekend. Texas 4, OU 2, the Longhorns' first ever win over OU in the state of Oklahoma, not just at the Women's College World Series. I mean, OU has been, the thorn in the side for Texas. They've been the thorn in the side for every college softball team. They've won 4 straight national championships after all. So it's not like Texas is the only team that hasn't had a lot of success against the Sooners. But obviously the Longhorns have made it to the Women's College World Series finals twice in the last 3 years. They lost to Oklahoma in both of those years. OU swept Texas in the regular season in Norman this season. So it's been bad for Texas in the entire state and also at the WCWS. And Texas was able to get a huge victory. Shout out to Tegan Cavan, the Longhorns ace. Her grandmother passed away on Saturday. And Tegan Cavan says she wears the number 17 because of her grandma. They had a great relationship, super close. And she passed away Saturday morning. And Cavan on Saturday afternoon went out and pitched a complete game gem. 8 strikeouts, 130 pitches, gave up 2 runs, but only one of them was earned. She was awesome against the premier program in college softball. An incredible story showing amazing resolve. Tip of the cap to Tegan Cavan, who pitched a shutout against Florida in the Women's College World Series opener last Thursday in Texas's 3-0 victory there. And now, she shuts down a super powerful Oklahoma offense. The Texas offense got it done. Base running, huge for Texas. They got a runner on base. They tried a double steal, and it worked. Oklahoma made an error that led to Texas's first run. Reese Atwood hit a sacrifice fly to make it 2-0 Texas, and it was 2-2 for a while. But then a couple of home runs. Caden Henry with the homer to make it 3-2. Jolie Mitchell, who hit 2 homers against Florida on Thursday. She hits another solo homer against Oklahoma on Saturday. That made it 4-2, and that was enough for Texas softball. So again, the Longhorns 1 win away from another trip to the Women's College World Series final. They're making a home in Oklahoma City, not just in the tournament, but also in the WCWS finals. I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch here. Texas has to beat Tennessee today. They've got 2 chances to win 1. So Tennessee has to beat Texas twice. The Longhorns only have to beat the Lady Vols 1 time. If they do that, Texas will be headed again to the WCWS Championship Series for the 3rd time in 4 years. We'll see who they play. It's either Oklahoma or Texas Tech. So, a lot of Texas flair and a lot of Texas rivals in the mix here. 3 SEC teams and a Big 12 team. Obviously, if Texas and OU were still in the Big 12, it'd be 3 Big 12 teams. But it'll be OU or Texas Tech. OU needs to beat Tech twice. Tech only needs to win once. So we'll see. But hopefully Texas takes care of its business today. Shout out to Mike White. Shout out to all of those ladies. They're doing a tremendous job. A bit of an up and down regular season. Texas was the preseason number 1 team in college softball. They're the 6th seed in the national tournament. Not bad. They were still really good. Did a lot of great things this year, but it wasn't quite as consistent of a year as Texas wanted in the regular season. But again, they're in a great spot in the Women's College World Series right now. All right, shout out to Scottie Scheffler before we wrap up today's show. Speaking of good things and good news from the weekend, Scottie Scheffler for the 2nd straight year wins the Memorial at Jack's Place. Of course, Jack Nicklaus's tournament and his course. Scottie Scheffler, only the 2nd golfer ever to win this tournament in back-to-back years, joining Tiger Woods, who actually won 3 in a row from 99 to 01. So Scottie will be trying to match El Tigre's number next year. But Scottie has been on a tear as of late. 3 wins in his last 4 starts. Of course, he had the PGA Championship major in that stretch since May 4th. Hilarious cross-sports stat here. Since May 4th, Scottie Scheffler has the same number of wins as the Colorado Rockies do. Scottie Scheffler has played in 4 golf tournaments. The Colorado Rockies have played 25 baseball games. Scottie Scheffler has 3 wins. So do the Rockies. He's incredible. Nice $4 million payday going to Scottie Scheffler as well. The 16th win of Scottie's PGA career. Only Jack, Tiger, and Sam Snead got to 16 career wins quicker than Scottie Scheffler. We're all looking for the next Tiger Woods. I don't want to sit here and say Scottie's that, but man, he's the closest thing we've seen to the GOAT in a long, long time. The U.S. Open starts next Thursday, Father's Day weekend. Scottie Scheffler is going to be the favorite there. He's not playing this weekend. It's the Canadian Open. He's sitting this one out, getting ready for the U.S. Open, our national championship. And we'll see if Scottie can go back-to-back majors, and we'll see if he can make it 4 wins in 5 starts. He is awesome and such an easy guy to root for. Of course, he went to Texas. That helps, but just a super humble guy, family man, strong-rooted in faith, and just plays the game the right way. So congrats to Scottie. Jordan Spieth also finished tied for 7th. Good for him. Would love to see Jordan Spieth back in the winner's circle at some point. It's been, more than 3 years since his last PGA Tour win. It's been 8 years since his last major win. We'll see if he can figure some things out. But good to see him in the mix, at least this weekend. But obviously, Scottie Scheffler, the world number 1, he continues to show you why pretty much every time he has a golf club in his hand. That's going to do it for today's episode. Thank y'all. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, comment, rate 5 stars, all of those great things, because we really do appreciate you making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day every single day. For your next listen, be sure to check out the Locked On Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. He's also talking plenty of recruiting. Talked about it being a huge month for Texas on the recruiting trail. It's a huge month for everybody in college football recruiting. Brian Smith has you covered. Just find the portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. We'll have plenty more Texas recruiting to get into this week. We'll have some Texas softball. Hopefully, we're talking about the Horns advancing to the Women's College World Series final on tomorrow's show. We've got you covered. Never a dull moment on the 40 acres, and we're talking about all of it right here on Locked On Longhorns. Thanks again for tuning in. Until next time, horns up, mics off. We'll see y'all soon. This is Locked On Longhorns.